Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 4, Sati quits her body, Text 15. Yat pada padmam mahatam manolabir Nishevitung brahma rasasavartibihi Lokasya yadvarshati chashishortinas Tasmai bhavandur yati vishvabandhave Yat pada padmam mahatam manolabir Nishevitam brahma rasasavartibihi Lokasya yadvarshati chashishortinas Tasmai bhavandur hati vishvabandhave. Duru, duru. Mahatam manolibhir. Lokasya yadvarshati chashishortinas Tasmai bhavandru yati vishvabandhave Vipada padmang mahatam manolabir Nishevitam brahma rasasavartibihi Lokasya yadvarshati chashishortinas Tasmai bhavandur hati vishvabandhave. Word by word. Yat pada padmam, the lotus feet of whom? Mahatam, of the higher personalities. Mana alibihi, by the bees of the mind. Nishevitam, being engaged at. Brahma rasa, of transcendental bliss. Brahmananda. Asava artibihi, seeking the nectar. Lokasya, of the common man. Yet, which. Varshati, he fulfills. Cha, and. Ashishaha, desires. Artanaha, seeking. Tasmai, towards him, Lord Shiva. Bhavan, you. Dhru yati, are envious. Vishvabandhave, unto the friend of all living entities within the three worlds. Translation. You are envious of Lord Shiva, who is the friend of all living entities within the three worlds. For the common man, he fulfills all desires, and because of their engagement in thinking of his lotus feet, he also blesses higher personalities who are seeking after Brahmananda, transcendental bliss. Purport. Ordinarily, there are two classes of men. One class who are grossly materialistic, want material prosperity, and their desires are fulfilled if they worship Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, being very quickly satisfies the material desires of the common man very quickly. Therefore, it is seen that ordinary men are very much apt to worship him. Next, those who are disgusted or frustrated with the materialistic way of life worship Lord Shiva to attain salvation, which entails freedom from material identification. One who understands that he is not the material body, but his spirit soul is liberated from ignorance. Lord Shiva also offers that facility. People generally practice religion for economic development to get some money, for by getting money they can satisfy their senses. But when they are frustrated, they want spiritual Brahmananda, or merging into the Supreme. These four principles in material life, religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, exist, and Lord Shiva is the friend of both the ordinary man and the man who is elevated in spiritual knowledge. Thus, it was not good for Daksha to create enmity towards him. Even Vaishnavas who are above both the ordinary and the elevated men in this world also worship Lord Shiva as the greatest Vaishnav. Thus he is the friend of everyone, the common men, the elevated men, and the devotees of the Lord. So no one should disrespect or create enmity towards Lord Shiva. Om Meganati Vedandasya Garanjana Shalakaya Chakshamanavitamena Tasmai Shigurvedamaha Kam Karizvachalam Pangam Nangai Tegirim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundi Tananam Vancha Kapidvishcha Krivasadibevicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Nvanamha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauda Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So read the translation again. You are envious of Lord Shiva, who is a friend of all living entities within the three worlds. For the common man, he fulfills all desires, and because of their engagement in thinking of his lotus feet, he also blesses higher personalities who are seeking after Brahmananda, transcendental bliss. So in relation to the word by word, the mana alibihi, by the bees of the mind, but that just doesn't come out in the translation, huh? Okay. But what is it referring to in the translation, the bees of the mind, or the bee of the mind? Oh, okay. Transcendental bliss. Oh, okay. All right. So, everybody is acting in a particular way because they have faith that by acting that particular way, that at least they'll get some satisfaction, some happiness, they'll get something. And therefore they're striving in a particular direction. And it's saying, and Prabhupada's making the point that materialistic people, they're after that material prosperity. Why? Because they have faith that by getting that, they'll enjoy. So whether we're worshiping Lord Shiva, which I think most of us are mostly worshiping Krishna, or we're worshiping Krishna, or we're worshiping whoever, and whoever anybody worships, they have to do that based on faith, and they actually do that based on faith. But the challenge is in this particular age is that people are faithless in those particular things. Like people are faithless in Krishna. People are faithless in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In other words, they don't have any faith in these things, these personalities. So, and even devotees, I mean, sometimes they develop their faith in Bhagavatam and Krishna, and then somehow or other, then they're developing their faith in evolution or Darwin's theory or in atheism or whatever it is. They're developing their faith has moved to the other side. So for anybody who's practicing Krishna consciousness, if they ultimately want to be successful, they have to develop their faith. And because if they don't have that faith, their determination will waver, and ultimately they'll give up. So faith, the determination, and then what's the last one I was thinking of? Faith. Well, I wasn't thinking of patience. I was thinking of faith, determination. Yeah, so a person has to have faith, and then they'll be determined to engage in a particular way of life, whether it's Christian consciousness or whatever. So we have to have that faith, and then we have that determination, or else our determination will break, and we'll just give it up. We'll give up. So, and I mean, of course, and people will find themselves, saying such ridiculous things that, oh, well, I tried chanting Hare Krishna, and, I was a brahmachari for so many years, and it just didn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me, and probably doesn't work for anybody else, because, everybody else is like me, right? Atmavanmante jagat. That saying is that, a particular person, because they're a certain way, they think everybody else is that way. So if it doesn't work for me, it must not work for anybody else. And they'll say that, oh yeah, I tried chanting Hare Krishna, but to be quite honest, me smoking pot, me smoking marijuana, me smoking ganja, and not listening to kirtan, but listening to reggae, reggae music, the Dreads, and Bob Marley, or he's one of the chiefs, right? Me listening to reggae music and smoking pot, that's hundreds of times more blissful than chanting Hare Krishna. Well, no, they'll say that, for him, and also, probably everyone, because they say Krishna consciousness is invalid. It's a joke. It's it's not true. So when I heard that recently, that was some devotee who used to live in the temple here. He moved out, and that's his present mind thought. That, oh yeah, it's a lot better just smoking pot and chanting and listening to reggae. So of course, we would say that this is like 100% absolute nonsense, and that it's not true. And the reason people they don't get the result of the chanting is that when they're not chanting, we have to analyze what people are doing when they're not chanting. In other words, we sit down, we chant our rounds, but largely what we get out of that, that sitting down and chanting our japa, depends on what we're doing all the other times, and all the other time we're not chanting japa. So, for example, if someone spends, 2 hours reading the Bhagavad Gita a day, or reading the Bhagavatam a day, then when they sit down and chant japa, they're probably going to get more out of it, right? Or if somebody's just reading about some, what is it called, some novel, novel about a man and a woman, So if they sit down, they chant their japa, they're not going to have a peaceful mind. They're just going to be thinking about, what was happening in the novel, the mundane novel, romance novel. So, so similarly within everybody's life, anybody who chants Hare Krishna, sometimes people wonder, okay, well, why aren't I getting the result? Well, the result's not coming because of the things we may not be doing particular things outside of japa time that we're supposed to. So that's an important thing to note. Like Narendra Prabhu, I heard him the other day. I was in Suresh's truck, and we were driving somewhere to some store, and Suresh was listening to Narendra. Suresh is actually quite a devotional person. He has a bunch of kirtan in his truck, and Hare Krishna, like ISKCON Hare Krishna kirtan, and Narendra. He's he has attraction to Bhakti Sundar Swami, actually. He said, because he was thinking of different devotees to maybe get initiated by, and he has some attraction to Bhakti Sundar Swami. He said, oh yeah, he's very nice, and nice story, and a nice person, whatever, devotee. So anyways, Narendra Prabhu was saying that he was given a talk, and some woman, she asked the question, Swamiji, she's Indian, Swamiji, can you give me peace? Please, can you give me peace? And then Narendra said, okay, let me ask you a question. Do you eat meat? And then she said, yes, I do. And then he said, do you gamble? She said, yes, I do. Do you take intoxication? Yeah, sometimes, and like that. So, and then he was saying, so if you do those things, how will you have peace? You can't have peace. So first you have to follow these things, then you could have peace of mind. So the point is that, like, 4 regulative principles, for example, that we follow, they're sattvic. They're sattvic, they're not exactly transcendental. They're sattvic principles, mode of goodness principles that we follow. Why? So that we could have a peaceful mind. Because people who don't follow those principles, they have a disturbed mind automatically. You have to have a disturbed mind. So what we read, outside of the morning program, what we listen to, who we listen to, what we meditate on, what we focus on, what we think about, that will affect our chanting, japa. And then people wonder, oh, I'm not getting the result, I'm just not feeling the bliss. Yeah, well, you're not feeling the bliss because, spending so much other time doing mundane things. And then when japa time comes, the mind's disturbed naturally. So, and aside from that, even if we stopped our, nonsense ways, as we know, if we've engaged in nonsense in the past, before Krishna consciousness, that itself bubbles up. The thoughts bubble up. So therefore Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita that we have to control our mind by practice, detachment practice. So yeah, to say that smoking pot and listening to reggae is far better than chanting Hare Krishna, millions of times better, hundreds of times better, that means they've just fallen into illusory energy. They've fallen into Maya. So we have to be careful that, because sometimes we think, oh, well, that's kind of, that will never happen to me, or that's kind of, maybe it won't. I don't think it's going to happen to Ramapati. I don't think it's going to, down the road think, yeah, smoking pot and listening to reggae is far better than chanting. It's not going to happen to him. But it is interesting that, it is interesting that, a lot of the times we try in Krishna consciousness, but because we don't develop our strong faith, our strong faith and our strong determination, then we give up. And we just fall back into our old conditioning. Why? Because that's what we're kind of comfortable with. That was what we're normal with. Like this devotee who fell down, he thinks that was his past activity. You know, he used to smoke a lot of pot and listen to reggae. So he just falls back into that. Or, you know, somebody falls into whatever, rock and roll music or something, you know, heavy metal, because that's just what they're, you know, they just fall back into that. That's what they're comfortable with. So, so it is quite a confused age in which, you know, people are very confused, and instead of putting their faith in the Bhagavatam and devotees and Prabhupada, they put their faith in their good old mind. And they take their mind's, you know, fluctuations and aspirations and, you know, ideas as supreme, and all the while, which you could say in many ways, you know, is not. It's in some ways normal in the material world, but the problem is that when we take our mind's fluctuations and ideas as supreme, and then we go so far as to criticize other Vaishnavas. Oh, he did this and he did that, and, you know, he shouldn't be a leader, and I would do better, and all these types of things. And we can't even follow the basic four regulative principles. It's just being dishonest. So fine, you know, have your thoughts, have your desires, whatever, but, you know, be a little humble, especially if you can't follow the four regulative principles. So that is exactly what happens, that if we do not, you know, follow the process as it's given, as it is, then what will happen is that, and it's very, you know, it's very scientific. It's not, you know, we cannot, you know, even mess up on a few little points, because even a few points will actually throw us off to some degree, maybe completely. Just like, for example, sometimes devotees get into this habit, they just read Prabhupada's books, and they don't associate with other devotees. Or sometimes devotees get into this habit, they just associate with devotees, and they don't read Prabhupada's books. So if you analyze a lot of the times what happens to these different personalities is that, you know, if you just associate with devotees and you don't read Prabhupada's books, you tend to become sentimental. You know, sentimental, maybe even fanatical, right? And when we don't, we just associate with Prabhupada's books, we may become hard-hearted. And it does say that Rupa Goswami says that this the austerity that we engage in sometimes, it could actually have the opposite effect. We actually become hard-hearted. So what I'm saying is there has to be a balance between Prabhupada's books, reading, and then between devotee association, in order to keep our consciousness more Krishna conscious. And aside from all this is that if we don't associate with devotees, you know, someone may say, what's the use of coming to the temple? What's the use? Well, there's been temples for thousands of years. There's obviously a use. It's not useless to have a temple. It's actually of great use. And what is that use? The use is that you get the association of devotees, not just Prabhupada's books, not just your guru's books, not just the Vedas. You need association of devotees. Why? Because if you don't have that association, you won't be able to follow the four Gita principles. And Prabhupada said that he said that to Borijan Prabhu in Hong Kong. He said, it's called My Glorious Master, the book. He said that you have to keep association with devotees, or else you won't be able to follow the principles. So people who, you know, get into this mindset, oh, you don't need to visit the temple. Okay, but if you don't visit the temple, you won't be able to follow the principles. Practically. I mean, there are some rare cases, maybe, that they could do that. But in many cases, they can't. Or even in the temple, devotees in the temple. I mean, we'll have a hard time following the principles if we don't associate with devotees. And of course, so yeah, we have to develop that faith, and therefore that determination, and then we won't give up. So, I over the years I've seen that is a huge problem within people, is that they don't have faith in the right thing. They have faith in their senses, right? They don't have faith in the right thing. And aside from that is they give up so easily. And Prabhupada actually mentioned that one time. He said that, he was kind of, anyways, he was on a morning walk. So Prabhupada walked really fast. I mean, it was like really fast. I mean, probably most of us would have a hard time keeping up with him. I mean, one time I walked with Brigupati Prabhu, this was like 5 years ago. Brigupati Prabhu is like 65 years old. And although I'm a little, anyways, I don't have a hard time walking fast. I could actually walk fast, and I have some energy within my body. I can move, But I was walking with him. We were walking up Faneuil, this street Faneuil close by, up the hill towards Mount Soledad. We actually walked all the way up there and down. But and he was walking so fast. I was literally 10 feet behind him. But I wasn't giving up. I was still going. So similarly, Prabhupada would walk really fast, and devotees would be struggling to keep up with him. So Prabhupada was on this morning walk around Kolkata, and he was walking, and there was 15 devotees, and then there was 10 devotees, and then there was 5 devotees. They just gave up, and they just went back to the temple or whatever they did, sat down on the bench or something. And then at the end there was 2 devotees. And then Prabhupada said to these 2 devotees, said, "Oh, they give up so easily." So if we have that faith, that determination, we will not actually give up so easily. But the problem is sometimes we don't have that faith and determination, and therefore we give up easily. So we have to develop that, and that is our great fortune if we can. And it's all within Prabhupada's books. Within Prabhupada's books, within the association of devotees, we can get what we need to be successful. But we have to, not become inimical, bent out of shape, right? Don't think that Prabhupada's books doesn't, or the devotees don't have anything to offer, but we have to, extend ourselves. In this way, we won't be, as Devamrita Swami said, what he said, prosperity religionists, in for it for material reasons, and we'll actually get, what we're all meant for it to get, or what we already have it, but we will reawaken what we're meant to reawaken, and that is not, love for Shiva as the supreme. I mean, maybe love for Shiva as the greatest devotee, fine, but not as the supreme. Not love for this material world and the things of this world, the sense gratification. Not love for, thinking that, smoking pot, listen to reggae is supreme, to hell with Hare Krishna. Not love for, anything mundane and temporary, but we'll get love for Krishna, which is the ultimate goal, right? The Premarta, what is it? Prema Pumarta Mahan, the highest goal above religiosity, economic development, sense gratification. So we'll get that highest goal, but we have to, is it avail ourselves, right? Is it avail? Avail ourselves? We have to avail ourselves of the association. We have to remember to move the van on the other side of the street, not to get a ticket, It's getting a ticket, right? What was it? Yeah, we can. Oh, the fan, the van, yeah. So similarly, Daksha, he created enmity towards Lord Shiva in disrespect. So, when it comes down to it, we actually should learn how to forgive. This is so wonderful about the material world, is it has plenty of opportunities for people to offend us, and for us to offend people. But we should learn how not to be offensive to people, one, because we'll be a lot more happier, we'll make a lot more advancement, you know. But aside from that is when people offend us, some way or other, this material world provides ample opportunity for us to forgive them. So we have to learn that, or else we just hold grudges, you know. People hold grudges for a very long time. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, generations. Devotees too hold grudges. Yeah, I remember he was my temple president in, 1965, or well, not 65, 1970. Now it's 2018. It's like, come on, are you really like holding a grudge still? Just give it up. Forgive. So the material world provides at least an opportunity for us to do that. We have to take that. But so does anyone have any? I don't know if we need the mic. I don't know if somebody wants to get the mic. Does someone want to get the? Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so Dravida Prabhu's saying that he has a friend, godbrother, here in America that just reads other books, doesn't read Prabhupada's books. Others Acharya books. Now someone would say, okay, that's, obviously it's better than reading, I don't know, some mundane, novel or something, or reading about, Harry Potter. I mean, kids read Harry Potter. Harry Potter's like as big as the Bhagavatam now, actually. It's all fictitious, made up. As big as the Bhagavatam. Of course, it's easier to understand. It's just a story and, kiddie. But, but someone will say, oh, well, that's better than reading Harry Potter. That's true, but it's not the best. The best is, focus mainly on Srila Prabhupada's books. Always be reading Prabhupada's books, Bhagavatam, Nectar Devotion, Ishapanishad. There's so much in those books. They're Krishna, right? Prabhupada said they're Krishna. So for someone to say, oh, I read that book, it's like saying, well, I already saw Radha Dari, so I'm just going to stay at my house, and I'm not going to come see Radha Dari. Well, yeah, we see Radha Dari, but we're supposed to see Radha Dari every day. We're supposed to bow down every day and offer prayers every day. So similarly, Krishna, has taken the form of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada's purports. We shouldn't, I already read. Well, it's Krishna, so we shouldn't get bored, Jamal, you had? You associate with devotees only, the tendencies become sentimental. Yeah, so he's saying that he's asking about sentimental, because I mentioned, if you just associate devotees become sentimental, you may become sentimental. And can a sentimental person not be Krishna conscious? Well, anybody become Krishna conscious, sentiment or this and that, but, there's different levels of Krishna consciousness. So if we're not absorbing what's in the books, then we may just be going off, I think, it's right, which is a sentimental, or I feel that this is, okay, well, what about what Prabhupada thinks? What about what Prabhupada feels? You know what I mean? So, in other words, there's no philosophical, basis for what we're doing. And we just, we're just kind of, whatever, there's smiling, and there's hugging, and there's embracing, and there's laughing, and there's joking, and then there's, prasadam taking. But where's the philosophy? Where's the logic? Where's the reason? Where's the mission? You know what I mean? Because sentimental, like I said, it's just kind of like, it's like a party. You go to a party, everybody's just kind of, like you go to a Christmas party or something, just kind of sentimental family, hugging and joking and taking pictures and, Okay, but where are we going to get the idea of what we're ultimately supposed to be doing? Getting out of this Hell hole, material world, getting out of this place, becoming detached from matter, preaching Krishna consciousness, defeating the Mayavadis, right? This only comes, none of these things are sentimental, and this only comes by reading Prabhupada's books, listening to his lectures, or else by nature we just won't, develop those ideas and that mindset. We'll just, like I said, laugh, joke, take prasad, take whatever, hang out. But that's there, I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. Mahaprabhu, he also did that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also did that. But alongside with that, he also went out, defeated Prakashananda Saraswati and did so many other things. So, yeah. Yes, Ryan. Yeah. 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 It's like they say that, we have to realize, okay, Krishna's God, Sometimes, people have a problem with that. Oh, Krishna's God, he plays a flute and he's blackish, bluish, and they have a problem, right? Or not just, they don't have faith in that. So we have to realize that Krishna's God, right? And then in the spiritual world, in Goloka Vrindavan at least, there's the Yoga Maya, and then they don't see him as God. They just see him as the gopis see him as some, attractive boy, and the cowherd boys see him as their buddy, Hey Krishna, hit him on the back, hey, jump on, let me jump on your back, Krishna, give me a piggyback ride, So you have to forget that, like Ryan was saying. So it is interesting. But in order to get there, that the sentimentalism of this material world, which generally tends to degenerate into mundane, sentimentalism, has to be, that can't just be the soul of our life, but it has to be a lot more than that. And then ultimately we, it is interesting because, you see like these tough, like Vaishnava sannyasis, they're like, barefoot, traveling around, and traditionally, even nowadays it's quite austere, traveling everywhere, and, still, ISKCON sannyas, they're kind of a lot of them seem to be kind of grave and, serious and stuff. But then the whole goal is, they enter Krishna Leela and they're, whatever, running with Krishna down, frolicking with Krishna through the forest. So it's kind of interesting, Yes. Yeah.
But actually, it's the balance of the head and the heart that's who is the greatest creator and philosopher. When he was talking to me about so it's really ultimately philosophy
Yeah, I don't know if I could that's a lot to summarize. I don't know if I could summarize that. It was a very good point. But I guess one of the main points that you're saying is Lord Chaitanya, the head and the heart. So it's the study of the philosophy and the knowledge and all that, and then it's also the chanting Hare Krishna, the emotion, the rasa, like that. All right, so one last, we're gone. Under forgive. Interesting. That's a good one. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Well, I'll just say quickly, because we're, the time, and then Ryan had something to say, but maybe we could discuss over breakfast. But, Prabhupada gave Babaji initiation to one devotee. He had some terminal illness, supposedly. So he gave him Babaji, and he was chanting a lot of Hare Krishna, and then as it was recorded by devotees, he found out that he didn't have it apparently, and then shortly after they saw this devotee in some convertible, BMW, red BMW or whatever it was, with his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, flying down the road. So about this idea, Krishna only gives us as much as we could handle. Well, it's kind of an interesting idea. I mean, Maya also tests, but we clearly see that, that was a failure, So many Prabhupada disciples got initiated by Prabhupada. How many of them are actively engaged? A lot of them actually went into their old ways. So, so the connection's there, but it'll be lost for some time, 1% in this life, 2%, you start off 2% next life or whatever it is, So that's there, but yeah, we have to be careful, still, because we have to be sincere and careful and all that. So anyways, it's a big subject, but I think the time's up now. All right, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.